Welcome to episode 29 of Experience Andy Wines Live. Another Monday, another great day to be alive and share our experiences in life so we can all grow and be together. So today we'll start off with a moment of gratitude, talk about what we're going to talk about, and slip in some what you can do for me today. So let's start with a little gratitude. Today, I'm thankful for the people that hold me accountable. I've been fortunate in my life to find people that continue to push me and challenge me in the places I want to be challenged so I can grow as a person in those places. And I come on here every week and I share my ideals with the world. And there are people around me that hold me accountable to those ideals because, like everybody else, I fuck up. I allow the fear within me to take over, or that wounded inner child within me to make decisions for me. And when people hold me accountable, it allows me to right myself quickly. And so I'm thankful for them that they hear what is important to me and how I'm going to get there. And they continue to push me to the direction, or in the direction I want to be pushed so I can achieve the BHAGs, the big, hairy, audacious goals. I can climb the mountains that I see in front of me. So I'm thankful for all those people, and I'll continue to share my ideas and my ideals and my story week in and week out here, because ultimately it's going to push me to be a better person when people challenge me to be the person I say I'm going to be. Next thing, order of business. This week, you know what? I love speaking. I wrote a list last week with EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, of things that you love doing, you're great at, things that you like doing, you're good at, things that you're good at and you don't like doing, stuff that you're not good at, you don't like doing, right? Is the quadrant. And I love speaking. I would say I love it and I'm good at it. It's, of course, an in-between category. I love doing it. I love doing it. People have told me I'm great at it, and I'm humble enough to say that I'm good and I want to get better. And organizations, individuals, workshops, keynotes, whatever it is, I love speaking, the opportunity to get in front of people and share my ideals with the world. For those of you that have organizations, know of organizations that are looking to enhance their language, ultimately that's what it comes down to. So the language of leadership is the latest workshop that I've worked on. I'll be presenting that at the Waste Expo, big waste convention, about 15,000 people. The plan is to speak in front of about 200 or 300, which is exciting. And so anybody that's looking for the language of leadership, looking at what are those limiting self-beliefs around language and how we can train leaders to identify those things within themselves and their team. So that is something that I'm asking for your support on. All right, let's talk about FOPO. So today, as always, over the weekends, I often think about, all right, what is money going to bring? What has transpired in the last 5, 6, 7 days that I'm motivated? How does it relate to my book? How does it relate to language? How does it relate to the ideals I see in the world? Because I want to tie everything back to our thoughts and our thought patterns and the language we use. And today, I got a blog. There's a handful of blogs I read every week. And this one is becoming a must read. It's not a weekly one anyways. And it's FOPO. And I never heard of FOPO. And yet I heard of it, right? So I've heard of FOMO, and she talked about this. Caitlin Hines, Passion and Profit. She's a local accountant and bookkeeper, does some HR work, and her whole thing is how you take businesses, work within that sphere of financials and HR so that companies can turn their passion into profit. Anyway, so her blog, she talks about this. She talks about FOMO, the fear of missing out, which I never heard of until a few years ago. And now this one's FOPO, FOPO, which is the fear of other people's opinions. And I loved it. And she got it from a 2019 HBR article. Dr. Michael Jervis talks about this fear that we all have as humans and what rooted in the psychology of being accepted from the hunter-gatherers. It's rooted in the idea that when we go out, if we don't have a good hunt, or we're not active in the tribe, or we're not able to protect the tribe, that will be shunned. And back in the hunter-gatherers days, if you were shunned and you were no longer part of that community, your likelihood of not surviving was high, right? You'll more likely die because we were communal, and right, you could rely on the talents of other people. And so that's where it's deeply embedded in us to be accepted by society. And then she says, basically, FOPO holds us back in 3 ways. And the 3 ways are by focusing on what other people think, we have less time and energy to listen to our own intuition. And man, is absolutely true, right? Second thing is we hold ourselves back because of these limiting self-beliefs. And then third thing, it ultimately breeds insecurity and doubt. And then I think, okay, how has this been in my life? And I had a life-changing moment about 10 years ago. I was really struggling. So when I got back from Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, I almost lost my career. I got kicked out of my platoon, ultimately kicked out of my company. I was going through a divorce. It was a really dark time. I had a really rough couple of years there, very complicated years. And the decisions I made were of my own. I made choices that got me to neither decision is good, and yet there's a better one there. So going through divorce and getting into some relationships that were unhealthy, and then starting my business and whatever. I was a mess back then. And yet there's one video, 6 minutes and 36 seconds, that changed my life. And I've watched this video hundreds of times since. And it's Les Brown. It's a Goldcast video. And in the video, he says, people's opinions of you are none of your business. And so since then, I've lived my life in order to see the world that way. And then I think, how does this relate to my book? I used to give a shit what people think about me. I used to want to fit in. I used to want to be one of the cool kids. And now I realize that there are 8 billion unique people in this world. And when we are unique, the world is a better place. So that we can make a world a better place with all our individual times, talents, and abilities. And that's what it comes down to. And so now I also talk more in the book about admire, desire, require. Often there are things that I admire in other people, skills, abilities, wealth, cars, money, whatever it is, right? And I want those things, and yet I don't require them, right? I really don't even desire them. I didn't want them until I saw someone else had that. And now I all of a sudden, ooh, I like that. Ooh, that's fancy, right? The latest and greatest on Facebook or on LinkedIn. I have the guilt I have is when I go onto LinkedIn, I'll see where other people are achieving success. And I say, why haven't I got that thing yet? Fuck them. I need to get there. Why do they have higher view counts? Like I have all those things as much as everybody else. And then I look back and say, okay, hold on. That's not my journey. That's not my life, right? Now I'm driving into my insecurities and not into my vulnerabilities, not into the things that make me uniquely me and uniquely awesome. And when I take the time to listen to my intuition, when I take the time to focus on me and what do I want in this world, I can dial it in. All this other stuff goes away. And so it goes into the second part of her blog, which is the 3 steps, right? 3 steps, the very Cliff Note version. So this is a PhD wrote it. A woman who does consulting rewrote parts of it in a blog, and now I'm speaking to it, right? So I went from a 30-minute, actually, I think I wrote a book too, so let's call it a three-hour book to a 3-minute read, and I'm breaking it down into 2 30-second chunks of what my understanding is and how it relates to words. And so what she says is shift from worrying about what people think to caring about people. And of the 3 things that she says, that's the one that's most interesting to me because I go in this world and I very much have this fuck you, I'm going to be who I am attitude. And I put my ideals first and not necessarily the other people around me. And so I need to be very conscious about asking good, open-ended questions, actively listening to those around me to better understand what they need. I remember about 10, 12 years ago when my brother was struggling with direction in life, my whole answer, you need to join the military. I was like, oh, you'd be great at it. Maybe it was 15 years ago. And you should join the Marine Corps. Like you'd be great at it. You'd be good. It would give you the discipline. And then that fizzled. You should go work for dad. This is what you should do to be a good carpenter. I kept wanting to point him in the direction of what I think he needed and wanted. And at no point I say, hold on, what do you want? And how do I help you achieve what you want? And now when I start focusing on what other people want and I start asking those questions, now they give me all the answers. And my job is to ask really good questions and then provide resources so that they get to make the decisions and they get to achieve those decisions. And when I read that, I thought about my own life. That's also what I want. I want to surround myself with people that ask me great questions and then push me to get to that place I want to go, right? Someone says, hey, what does your ideal life look like in a year from now? Oh, this is what it looks like. Okay, so for me, what does my ideal life look like in a year from now? I'd say I'm speaking twice a month, traveling, right? Let's say that, traveling twice a month, 20, great. Next year, 25 speaking opportunities that are outside of Wisconsin where I need to get in my car or get on a plane and go somewhere. I'm making this shit up as I go. That sounds great. I then want someone to say, okay, what are you going to do today to achieve that? What haven't you done already? What have you thought about doing that you haven't executed on? And now we're having a conversation challenging me and pushing me and pointing me in the direction of where I want to go. And the beautiful thing about that is when you start giving a shit about what other people want and when they start giving a shit about what you want, you automatically start putting yourselves in people's shoes, that old adage, right? In the military, we talk about joining them in the foxhole, right? How do you see things from their perspective? Not opinion. Opinions are like assholes, and we know everybody has one, right? Opinions are out there in this world, right? I'm very particular about my words, right? Opinion, anybody can have a fucking opinion about everything. And now you say, hold on, from my perspective, I see this. From your perspective, you do. And from my perspective, I see that. So now once I join you from your perspective, now I can see what, and vice versa, you can see what I see. When we start using language that explains things from a perspective, not a perception. Perception is this, I paint this story, or I'm going to take all these. No, from my perspective, this is what I see. These are the facts, right? Stick to the facts, Jack. From my perspective, this is what I see. This is the clear direction. I want somebody else to look at what I'm looking at, see my blind spots, and then tell me what they're seeing. So long as we're focused on the same goal. Now, if they think I need to solve over here, but this is what I want to solve, then it doesn't no good because I'm looking here and they're looking there. And it doesn't matter where we start from. We're looking in the wrong, we're looking in different directions. And so when I talk about this in my book, asking great questions, there's 10 great questions that can almost always be asked in a conversation. And then I talk about this in the 6 steps of understanding. Listen is one of the steps. It is that important. It's that critical of a step to say, listen for what people are saying. Listen to people what they are not saying. Ask open-ended questions. When you get to an impasse, ask maybe a closed-ended question. Hey, is it this or that? Let's get us back on path. And once you do that, you can understand people's perspectives from where they're at. And then you can also invite them into your life and tell them your perspective. And again, now the people's opinions of you doesn't fucking matter because they see what you're seeing. You've let them in. Second thing, focus on what you can control, she talks about. Absolutely. I grew up in a household with ADD, one of 4 kids, running around. My parents sent me up north every summer because they couldn't control me, right? It was all about self-control. Andy, you got to learn self-control. The church, the teachers in Catholic school, Andy, you got to learn to control yourself and not say things out loud and keep your hands to yourself. It was all about control. And I hated that. I despise self-control. Don't put me in a box, right? Nobody puts baby in a corner. I hated self-control. And then 10 years ago, when I attended master resiliency training, I learned that the first step was self-awareness and the second step was self-regulation. So it wasn't about controlling myself. It was about regulating myself, my energy in real time. And so same thing here, right? Focus on what you can control. Okay, what in my current situation is something I have an impact on? How do I regulate my energy around other people? I'm not going to control the room. I'm not going to control other people. And I'm certainly not going to control what I have to say. However, I can regulate what I have to say and who I say it to because because I want to have a productive conversation. There's no reason or no point to go scream in front of a mirror, right? No reason to go scream in front of a wall when it doesn't get you anywhere. Who are the right people that I need to talk to? What are the right things to share so that it can be a productive conversation? Productive by me, productive by them, or in a perfect world, productive where both people benefit from it. So now I can regulate what I say and who I say it to. I know that I walk into a room, there's a high probability someone will be offended by me. I wrote a book called Words Fucking Matter. Let's be honest. That ain't everybody's fucking cup of tea. I'm 6'4", 220. I wear fucking camo pants every day, and I'm a loud individual. There are rooms I walk into where people will be offended by me. Not because I'm offensive, because they're choosing to be offended. They're the never people. I know in this world there's going to be the sometimes, the always, and the never people. I know there will be people that will always listen to what I have to say and think and walk on water, and I feel good when I'm around them. I know that there's going to be the never people that no matter what I do, I can do all the things right in the world, and they will never understand. They will never get me. I'm not going to expend my energy on those individuals, right? Because conversely, I may never understand them either. And that's okay. There's 8 billion people in this world. It's not my job or your job or anybody's job to everybody. And then finally, there's the sometimes people. And this is when regulation is important, right? When it comes to the sometimes people, what are the things that you can say with the sometimes people that allow both people to grow and understand and be better people? And now me, I rely heavily on the 7% verbal part of conversations. That 93% nonverbal part has historically been a struggle for me. So when I focus on that 7% verbal, I can choose what words I say and I do not say. When I'm sitting in front of a little old lady for the first time, I'm probably not going to drop an F-bomb because I can regulate in real time. It's not productive. Now, on the flip side, I had a lady a couple of weeks ago, I was in her house and we were running late. I ended up on a job. I said, we had some operational liabilities. And she goes, shit happens. And this woman was in her late 70s, early 80s. And I go, yeah, shit does happen sometimes. She goes, you're fine, honey. I just have a doctor's appointment I have to get to. Okay. So here I am regulating. And yet I wasn't as honest and transparent as she was. It was a welcome surprise that little old lady on a Friday afternoon says, yeah, shit happens. Yeah, it does. Thank you for recognizing it. Thanks for your patience. So you gave us a $20 tip. We showed up an hour late. and gave us a $20 tip and told us shit happens. So in that case, I regulated, and yet she also met me maybe where she thought where it was comfortable for her seeing me and what worked for me. Right. So you can regulate and still have a good, productive, healthy conversation. The third step that Caitlin talks about is make a list. This is of the three. This is the one that this one I love. Make a short list. Keyword here for my was short list. Make a short list of people whose opinions really matter to you. I've been accused in the past of not giving a shit about what other people think. The fact is, most people, I don't give a shit what they think. It's none of my business what they think. Les Brown taught me that 10 years ago, and I've held true to it because for the first 30 years of my life, I suffered from that. I went to Catholic school with a small amount of students in the class, and I wanted to be well-liked. I wasn't. I was the smallest kid in class. I was the weird kid. I remember I was in Boy Scouts at one point. I was the only Boy Scout in my grade. I'm the only kid that played volleyball in my grade, right? I didn't have any friends really in the neighborhood to speak of. I spent a lot of time out in the woods, out in my treehouse, spent a lot of time at my grandparents' farm. I spent a lot of time by myself and I was happy. And now at 40 years old, I spent a lot of time by myself and I'm happy because I gave a shit for a long time what other people wanted. And when I look back, I said, I was happy without a lot of people, right? So now I look, whose perspective matters? And the people's perspectives that matter are the people that I give them all the information. I said from the top, right? Gratitude. I'm thankful for the people that hold me accountable. If you read my book, there's the whole back page. All my thank yous are people that hold me accountable. Those are the people whose perspective matters because they know who I am. They've invested time in me. They know where I want to go because I'm invested my vulnerability in them. And so the list of people's perspectives that matter is very short and it's forever changing. With the exception of my mother and my father, everybody else on that list has been temporary at some point in my life. And so now when I seek out people's perspectives, I want to see what they see about me, about where I'm going, about what I'm doing with my life. I want them to point out my blind spots. I want them to respect the direction I'm going because I, just like you, get to set my own boundaries, set my own goals, set my own BHAGs, that big, hairy, audacious goal. And I want other people to support me getting there. When I think the list of the people, it's short. When I want to celebrate big wins, there's a handful of people I call. When I'm struggling with something, there's a handful of people I call. There's a handful of people that reach out to me every now and then and say, hey, what's going on with you? I haven't heard from you in a while. Get me caught up to speed. What can I do to support you? And that list of people is short, and that is beyond fine because those are the people I've invested my most time with. Those are the people that can join me in my foxhole and say, yeah, okay, Andy, I see what you're seeing. Now, come over here for a second, sit in my foxhole. Let's look at the same problem from my perspective. And now, new shit has come to light. I talked about rebranding the company. I'm talking about rebranding my company, Camo Crew. And I sought the perspective of our marketing company. We had a great hour-long conversation. Pros, cons. What are we going to do today? What can happen? I value their perspective because we've been working together for 2 years, because they've known me for 6 or 7 years, because we've spent time together to understand how we operate together. So when I read this, fear of other people's opinions, it's true, right? But as we know, fear gets us nowhere. It starts with the fear of other people's opinions, right? And now let's shift this to a moment of gratitude. Let's shift this to the focus of what we can regulate per se, right? So seek out the perspectives from others. And it's very simple. Share with people what you want to do in this world, where you want to go, what are your goals, what are your aspirations, your fucking Christmas list. Share that with the world and then tell the people where you're at. Tell them what you're afraid of. Tell them about your vulnerabilities. Tell them what you need from them. Tell them the type of support they can give you. And then sit back and take it all in. See the people that show up for you. And then as you're doing this, show up for others. This step, as I'm creating this shit on the fly. You look, there's no fucking notes. I read a blog and now I'm sharing my ideals with the world. And it comes down to really the 3 steps to life I talk about every week. Do the fucking thing, tell the fucking world, and show the fuck up. And the thing is, people will show up with you. When you have a mindset of gratitude and abundance, you will find the right people. You will find the right places. You will find the right solutions when you put it out to the world. So go out there this week. Control what you can control. Do not fear other people's opinions. Go out and find the perspectives of people that know you the best. Give them more information of where you are. Tell them where you want to go and allow them to support you as you get there. Another amazing week. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for holding me accountable. Thank you for allowing me to be with you each and every week as I chase my goals this week and always. Do the fucking thing, tell the fucking world, and show the fuck up. We'll see you next week.